I pulled into my driveway at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night. I wasn't supposed to be home at all. The fishing trip had fallen apart because of a storm rolling across the lake, so I made the 4-hour drive back from Lake Erie exhausted and thinking only about collapsing into my own bed. That's when I noticed them. 3 unfamiliar cars lined up in front of my house like they belonged there. A BMW, a Mercedes, a Tesla. None of them belonged to any of Amanda's friends, not even close. The living room lights were glowing through the curtains, and music pulsed softly, quiet enough not to alert the neighbors, but loud enough that I could hear the bass from the driveway. I stayed in my truck with the engine running, staring at my own home the way you'd stare at a place where something terrible had happened. On Wednesday, Amanda had been very specific. "Babe, I need the house this weekend. Girls only. Wine, movies, the whole thing. You don't mind, right?" I hadn't minded. The fishing trip with my brother had been planned for months anyway. But sitting there, watching shapes move behind my curtains, something didn't line up. I hadn't seen a single silhouette that looked like a woman. Just men. 3 of them. Tall figures moving through my space with the comfort of people who didn't expect to be questioned. I shut off the engine, took out my phone, and opened the security camera app I'd installed 6 months earlier, the same system Amanda had laughed off as unnecessary paranoia. Then I watched my living room in real time. My wife, wearing a dress I'd never seen before, smiling, laughing, standing close to 3 men I had never met. One had his hand resting on her lower back like it belonged there. Another uncorked champagne. My champagne. The $300 bottle I'd been saving for our anniversary. The third sat stretched out on my couch like he was the one paying the mortgage. I watched for exactly 1 minute while my marriage unraveled on a 6-inch screen. Then I did something I had never done before. I called my lawyer at midnight on a Friday and said 5 words that changed everything. I need a witness. Now, if you want to know what I found when I walked through that door and why her face went white before I even spoke, hit subscribe, because what happened in the next 10 minutes made her lawyer quit the case. My name is Ryan Mitchell. I'm 39 years old, and I live in Shaker Heights, Ohio, a suburb of Cleveland, where the homes are historic, the trees are older than most families, and everyone pretends everything is perfect. I'm a senior systems engineer for a medical device company. The job pays well enough to be comfortable. 6 figures, benefits, retirement plan, that predictable life I always thought meant stability. Amanda and I have been married for 7 years. No kids. We talked about it plenty of times, but she always said not yet. There was always another reason. Career timing, travel. We're still young. I never pushed. I believed time was on our side. We lived in a 4-bedroom colonial house I had purchased before we got married. My name on the deed, my down payment, but once we married, it became ours. That's what marriage means, or at least that's what I believed. From the outside, our life looked ideal. Dinner parties, vacation photos, smiling social media posts that collected approval from everyone who saw them. Amanda worked in pharmaceutical sales, traveled often, moved through social circles I barely knew. She was confident, magnetic, the kind of woman who commanded attention when she entered a room. I was proud to be her husband, until that pride slowly turned into something else. The shifts began quietly. About a year ago, Amanda started going out more frequently. Networking events, client dinners, girls' nights. At first, it didn't seem unusual. She had always been social. But gradually, 2 nights out became 3, then 4. She'd come home late smelling of wine and a cologne that wasn't mine. "How was your night?" I'd ask. "Fine," she'd say, tired, already distant. "Long day. I'm going to bed." No details, no stories, just distance. I told myself it was stress. That's what you do when you love someone. You assume the best even when the uncertainty begins stacking up quietly. 3 months ago, new patterns emerged. Expensive new clothes appeared in her closet, dresses I had never seen. "Where did that come from?" I asked once. "Oh, this?
"I've had it forever," she said, without looking up from her phone. I had been doing laundry for 7 years. I knew what she owned. Then there was her phone. Always face down. Always carried into another room when it rang. "Who was that?" I'd ask. "Work," she'd reply. "You know how it is." I did know how it was. And no coworker makes you smile like that late at night unless there's something more behind it. 2 months ago, I crossed a line I'm not proud of. She left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. No passcode. She always claimed she had nothing to hide. I picked it up, hands trembling, opened her messages, and found a conversation with someone named Marcus. "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again?" I scrolled upward. Weeks of messages, maybe months. Plans, hotels, moments that didn't belong in our marriage. My chest tightened so hard I thought I might collapse. The shower shut off.
I put the phone back exactly where it had been and walked into the garage, sat in my truck, and tried to breathe. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I did what I knew how to do. I collected evidence. I installed 4 security cameras: living room, kitchen, front door, driveway. "Why do we need cameras?" Amanda asked. "Break-ins nearby," I said. "Better safe than sorry." She rolled her eyes but didn't argue. I connected everything to my phone and waited. The fishing trip was supposed to be a reset. My brother Jake had planned it for months. A long weekend at Lake Erie. Fishing, quiet, no distractions. "You need this," he told me. "You've been stressed." He didn't know why. I never told him about Amanda. Wednesday night, I mentioned the trip. "Jake and I are heading to Erie this weekend, leaving Friday morning." She looked up from her laptop. "The whole weekend?" "Yeah, back Sunday." Her expression flickered with something I hadn't seen before. Relief, maybe, or anticipation. "That's perfect," she said. "I was actually hoping to have the house this weekend." "For what?" "Girls' night. Maybe a whole girls' weekend. Rachel, Jen, Sarah, wine, movies, you know." I nodded. "Sure, sounds good." "You don't mind?" "Why would I mind?" She smiled and kissed my cheek. "You're the best." That smile felt colder than it should have. Friday morning, I loaded my gear into the truck. Amanda stayed in bed. I kissed her forehead. "Have fun this weekend." "You too," she murmured. I drove north, met Jake, headed onto the lake. The weather was calm at first. We fished for hours, caught nothing, talked about nothing. Around 2 p.m., Jake's phone buzzed. "Storm warning, big one. Marina is calling everyone back." We returned to shore as clouds rolled in fast. Trip over. I decided to drive home. I didn't call Amanda. I told myself it would be a surprise. But really, I needed confirmation. During the drive, I kept checking the security camera app. At 6 p.m., Amanda left the house dressed up. At 7:30 p.m., she returned with a man in a BMW. At 8:15 p.m., another man arrived in a Mercedes. At 9 p.m., a Tesla pulled in. I watched it all unfold from rest stops and traffic lights, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles ached. No girls, no friends, just 3 men walking into my house like they belonged there. By the time I arrived at 11:47 p.m., the street was quiet, but my house glowed like an event in progress. I parked down the block and watched through the cameras. Amanda laughing, dancing, a hand on her waist, another man opening my champagne, the third lounging comfortably on my couch. Something inside me finally snapped. Not my heart. That had happened earlier. This was different. The part of me still hoping for innocence shattered completely. I opened my contacts and called the number I'd saved months earlier but never used. Patricia Chen, the attorney who handled my home closing. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Patricia Chen?" "Patricia, it's Ryan Mitchell. I need help." "Ryan, what's wrong?" "I need a witness, now, tonight." There was a pause. "Where are you?" "Outside my house. My wife told me she was having a girls' weekend. There are 3 men inside." A longer pause. "Don't go in yet," she said. "I'm 20 minutes away. Wait for me." "Why?" "Because if you go in alone, it's your word against hers. If I'm there, it's documented. It's evidence." I agreed. I waited. 20 minutes stretched endlessly. Patricia arrived at 12:11 a.m., briefcase in hand, expression steady. She approached my truck. "Show me," she said. I handed her my phone. She watched silently, jaw tightening slightly. "How long has this been happening?" "Months, maybe." "Do you know who they are?" "No." She returned the phone. "Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk in together. You're going to stay calm. No yelling, no touching anyone. You're going to ask them to leave. I'm going to document everything. And then we file for divorce and we make sure she doesn't get a damn thing." We walked up to the front door. I could hear music, laughter. I put my key in the lock, turned it, opened the door. The music was louder inside. Someone had dimmed the lights. The living room smelled like perfume and champagne. Amanda was on the couch. One of the men had his arm around her. Another was pouring drinks. The third was scrolling through his phone. I stepped inside, Patricia behind me. Amanda looked up, saw me. Her face went from relaxed to confused to terrified in about 2 seconds. "Ryan," her voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "I live here," I said calmly. "What are you doing here?" She stood up fast, smoothing her dress. I'm sure you can. I looked at the 3 men. They were all staring at me now, uncomfortable, caught. "Who are you?" I asked the one closest to me. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Amanda. "Don't look at her," I said. "I asked you a question." "I'm Marcus," he said finally. Marcus, the name from her phone. "And you?" I looked at the second man. "Trevor." "And you?" "Jason?" I nodded. "Okay, Marcus, Trevor, Jason. I'm Ryan. I own this house, and I'm going to need you to leave now." They didn't move at first, just looked at each other, at Amanda, like they were waiting for permission. "Now," I repeated louder. Marcus stood up. "Look, man, we didn't know." "I don't care what you knew. Get out." Trevor grabbed his jacket. Jason pocketed his phone. They moved toward the door fast, like the house was on fire. Amanda tried to follow them. "Wait!" "No," I said. "You stay." The 3 men left, doors slamming, engines starting, tires on asphalt. And then it was just the 3 of us. Me, Amanda, and Patricia. Amanda's eyes finally landed on Patricia.
"Who the hell are you?" "Patricia Chen, Mr. Mitchell's attorney." Amanda's face went white. "Attorney?" "That's right." Amanda looked at me. "Ryan, this isn't what it looks like." "Stop," I said. "Just stop." Patricia pulled out her phone, started taking pictures. The champagne bottle, the glasses, the dimmed lights. "What are you doing?" Amanda's voice was rising, panicking. "Documenting," Patricia said calmly, "for the divorce proceedings." "Divorce?" Amanda's voice cracked. "Ryan, please, we can talk about this." "We're done talking," I said. "You lied to me. You brought 3 men into my house. You told me it was a girls' weekend. It was just what? Just a party? Just some friends? Just 3 guys you're sleeping with?" She flinched. "I'm not sleeping with them, really." I pulled out my phone, opened the security footage, because this looks pretty intimate to me. I showed her the screen, her face on camera, Marcus's hand on her back, the champagne, the laughter. Her face crumpled. "Ryan." "How long?" I asked. "How long has this been going on?" She didn't answer. "How long?" 6 months, she whispered. 6 months? Half a year? While I was working? While I was trying to save our marriage? While I was sleeping next to her every night? She was planning this? "Get out," I said. "What?" "Get out of my house." "Ryan, I live here." "No, I live here. My name is on the deed. You're a guest, and I'm asking you to leave." "You can't just kick me out." Patricia stepped forward. "Actually, he can. This is his property. You have no legal claim to it. If you refuse to leave, we'll call the police and have you removed for trespassing." Amanda looked at her, then at me. "You planned this?" "No," I said. "You planned this. I just came home early." She left, grabbed her purse, her phone, walked out the front door without another word. I watched her taillights disappear down the street. Then I closed the door, locked it, and stood there in my own living room, surrounded by evidence of my wife's betrayal. Patricia put a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" "No," I said, "but I will be." She nodded. "We need to move fast. File first. Document everything. Don't give her time to build a narrative." "What do I need to do?" "First, change the locks tonight if possible. Second, don't communicate with her except through me. Third, download all the security footage and save it somewhere she can't access." "Done." "Good." She paused. "Ryan, I'm sorry. I know this isn't how you wanted your marriage to end. It ended 6 months ago. I just didn't know it yet." I changed the locks that night. Called the 24-hour locksmith. Cost me $400, worth every penny. Downloaded every second of security footage, saved it to 3 different drives. Then I sat on my couch, the same couch where Marcus had been sitting an hour earlier, and tried to process what had just happened. My phone buzzed. "Amanda, we need to talk." I didn't respond. Another text. "Ryan, please, I can explain." I blocked her number. She called from a different number. I didn't answer. She showed up at the house at 2 a.m., knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. I watched her on the security camera. Didn't move. Eventually, she left. Monday morning, Patricia filed for divorce. Grounds? Adultery. Ohio is technically a no-fault state, but adultery still matters, especially when it comes to asset division. And boy, did we have assets to divide. The house, my house, worth $480,000, my name on the deed. My 401k, $340,000, started before the marriage. My savings, $85,000, separate account. Her car, a 2021 Audi that I'd co-signed for. And then there was the kicker. Amanda had been using our joint credit card for her girls' nights. Patricia pulled the statements. $47,000 in charges over 6 months. Hotels, dinners, gifts, all on my credit, all for her affair. Amanda hired a lawyer, a guy named Richard Moss. Expensive suit, expensive office, expensive retainer. He sent Patricia a letter, aggressive, demanding. Mrs. Mitchell is entitled to half of all marital assets, including the house, retirement accounts, and vehicles. She's also requesting alimony of $4,000 a month for 5 years. Patricia read it to me over the phone. I could hear the smile in her voice. "He's overplaying his hand," she said. "How?" "Because he doesn't know what we know. He thinks this is a standard divorce. He doesn't realize we have her on camera with 3 men in your house after she lied about a girls' weekend. So what do? We respond and we bury him." Patricia's response was a work of art. She attached the security footage, time-stamped high def. She attached the credit card statements, every hotel charge, every dinner, every gift. She attached the text messages I'd screenshotted from Amanda's phone months ago, and she attached a forensic analysis of our finances, showing that Amanda had contributed virtually nothing to the household expenses for the past 2 years. The letter ended with a single paragraph. "Given Mrs. Mitchell's documented infidelity, her fraudulent use of marital funds, and her lack of financial contribution to the household, we are requesting the following. Mr. Mitchell retains the house, all retirement accounts, and all vehicles. Mrs. Mitchell receives nothing."
Furthermore, we are requesting that Mrs. Mitchell reimburse Mr. Mitchell for the $47,000 in fraudulent charges she incurred during her extramarital affairs. Patricia sent it on a Wednesday. By Friday, Richard Moss called her. "We need to talk," he said. "I'm listening," Patricia replied. "Your client is being unreasonable. My client is being accurate. Mrs. Mitchell is entitled to nothing. She committed adultery. She lied. She defrauded the marriage. If we go to trial, she'll be lucky to walk away with her clothes." There was a long pause. "What does your client want?" Richard asked finally. "I just told you. He keeps everything. She walks away. Clean break. She'll never agree to that. Then we'll see her in court, and I'll make sure every detail of her affair is part of the public record." Another pause, longer this time. "Let me talk to my client," Richard said. Amanda called me that night from yet another new number. I answered against my better judgment. "Ryan, please, we can work this out. There's nothing to work out. I made a mistake. I'm sorry, but you can't just take everything. I'm not taking anything. I'm keeping what's mine. The house is ours. The house is mine. I bought it before we got married. My name is on the deed. You contributed nothing to the down payment, nothing to the mortgage. I lived there as my guest." Her voice broke. "Ryan, don't do this. You did this. You brought 3 men into my house, you lied to me, you spent $47,000 of my money on your affairs. I'll pay you back. With what? You haven't contributed to our finances in 2 years." Silence. "Sign the papers, Amanda. Walk away or we go to trial and I make sure everyone knows exactly what you did." She hung up. 2 weeks later, she signed. No house, no retirement accounts, no alimony. She kept her car, barely. I made her refinance it in her own name. She walked away with her clothes, her jewelry, and whatever was in her personal bank account, the $47,000 in fraudulent charges. We settled. She agreed to pay me back $500 a month for the next 8 years. I'll probably never see most of it, but it's on the record, and that matters. The divorce was final 90 days later. I stood in the courthouse, signed the papers, and walked out into a cold Cleveland morning. Patricia walked with me to my truck. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Free," I said, and I meant it. "Good," she paused. "You did the right thing, Ryan. You protected yourself. A lot of men don't. I had a good lawyer." She smiled. "You had good instincts. The lawyer just helped." We shook hands. She walked to her car. I sat in my truck for a minute, looked at the courthouse, thought about the last 7 years. Then I started the engine and drove home, to my house, my space, my life. 6 months later, I was doing okay. I'd redecorated, new couch, new paint, erased every trace of Amanda. I'd started dating. Nothing serious, just coffee, dinners, conversations with women who didn't lie. I'd even taken that fishing trip with Jake, caught a 12-pound walleye, mounted it in my living room. Life was simpler, quieter, honest. One night, I was scrolling through my phone and saw a message request on social media from Marcus. I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. "Hey man, I know this is weird, but I wanted to apologize. I didn't know she was married. She told me she was separated. I'm sorry for my part in it. Hope you're doing okay." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "She lied to you too. Don't beat yourself up. Just be smarter next time." He replied immediately, "Thanks, man. I will." I closed the app, and I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Marcus, not at Trevor or Jason, not even at Amanda. I was just done. A year later, I sold the house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I bought a smaller place, a condo downtown. Modern, clean, no history. I kept the security cameras though, old habits, and I kept Patricia's number in my phone just in case. But mostly, I kept the lesson. Trust your gut. Document everything, and never, ever ignore the signs, because the truth doesn't hide. It just waits for you to be ready to see it. If this story hit home, comment, "Trust your gut." If you've ever ignored the signs, if you've ever given someone the benefit of the doubt when you shouldn't have, if you've ever had to protect what's yours, this one's for you. Hit subscribe for more stories about men who chose themselves, because sometimes the best thing you can do is come home early and see what's really there.